Hey everybody, I wanted to share something with you today. Last night I actually walked up my driveway crying. It was misting. We had just come back from Thanksgiving with a bunch of friends and what we consider family now. And I was closing we have two gates on our property. I was closing the second gate and I told my husband to just drive up without me. I needed a break. And the reason for that is my kids, the last probably about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe, have been a major handful. And we don't do candy, we don't do sweets, we don't do all this stuff that normally you would think like, oh, this is why your kids are acting out because of the holidays and whatnot. We don't even do most of the holidays anyways. Um, but it's one of those things where I don't know what's going on with my kids, but currently they are just being little hellions. And with each of my children, obviously, in general, with children, there's different ways to reprimand your children. Each of my girls have very different personalities, and there's different ways that I reprimand each of them when they are being naughty. In particular, my youngest, my husband and I have been very thankful for the fact that she is what we call our gentle soul. Typically, we barely raise our voice, and she is just full on sobbing, apologizing for being naughty, the whole 9 yards. And when I say barely raise our voice, I mean barely raise our voice. And she's just full on hysterics, apologizing, everything else. And so lately, though, that has not been the case the last few weeks. And she's 4. So I'm assuming she's testing her boundaries. And I've been through this already twice with my two oldest. And obviously, kids will be kids. They're going to test boundaries until they're, grown up. But, and then they'll still test boundaries. But she's at the age, I guess, where she's decided to start testing her boundaries more. And it's been pretty rough because she is my more sensitive child. And she still is more sensitive. But having this switch now where she is a lot more defiant, a lot more not necessarily aggressive, but like angry and stuff like that when I get after her for not doing something. Like, she'll take her sister's Legos. I'll give you an example. Her oldest sister has Legos that she plays with, that she builds houses with. And with those houses, she'll play with those houses for like weeks at a time, and then just like change up the interior decorating section of the houses or whatever. And what my youngest will do is she wants to play with her sister's Legos, which they have a big bin of Legos, all of them, but she specifically wants her biggest sister's Legos that already have the house built. And so she'll destroy her sister's house. And so she'll get in trouble for that because she has a whole bunch of other Legos that she can build a house with. She doesn't need to destroy her sister's house so that she can build a house with it. And so she's gotten in trouble for that multiple times, to the point now where she's just literally not allowed to touch the bin that is like specifically marked her oldest sister's Legos. But she's been really defiant lately. And last night she was being defiant again in the car. Our middle daughter had a headache, and she was really tired. I mean, she'd had 2 days of playing with friends. And so our middle daughter had asked that we be quiet, and so she could try to fall asleep in the car on their way home. And our youngest daughter has asked that many, many times, where she's trying to fall asleep in the car and she asks us to be quiet, and we're quiet. Well, last night our youngest daughter didn't want to be quiet. She wanted to make all the noise and be loud still and be mean and angry because her older sister wanted some silence. And so she got in trouble for being nasty. And it was one of those things last night where I had kind of just was at my wit's end. Like I said, when I got into the driveway, I'd had enough. I was tired of her nastiness, of her angriness and being bossy and everything else. I was tired of her not listening. And regardless of any kind of punishment she received, she wouldn't listen for the last few weeks and everything else. But at the same time, she has apologized. I'll say this. She has apologized when she's been really naughty. There has been things she has changed. Like when we tell her to pick up her toys, she actually picks up her toys now and doesn't try to make her sisters do it and everything else. But at the same time, last night, it got rough. It got hard for me. And I needed some time alone to just let my feelings out. And so I walked up the driveway when it was like sprinkling, and I just cried. And because I was tired, I was frustrated, I was upset, I was annoyed. um, I don't like being mean mom, and my husband doesn't like being mean dad, where we actually, like have to punish our children for being naughty and stuff. I mean, it's part of parenting, that's what you have to do, but nobody enjoys it. And so I walked up the driveway crying, and I'm just like, okay, when I get in, I'm going to get them to bed. My husband's going to help, my husband and I are going to get them to bed. And then I'm just basically going to crash because I'm done. And quite frankly, there was a large part of me that's like, I just don't even want to be around my kids. Now, my oldest had been perfectly fine, and so had my middle daughter all day long, and so had my youngest all day long. It was just when we got in the car on the ride home, my youngest decided she wanted to be kind of nasty towards her older sister. And I was like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this like right now. Like, but the thing about it is when you're a parent, you can't turn off being a parent. Like you still have to be a parent. And I obviously know that, but at the same time, there's times where you can be just dead tired. Like you're done, you're exhausted, you can't do anymore, but you got to keep going. And so that was kind of like my walk back up to the house, the camper, was to get myself prepped for bedtime and everything else, to get them ready for bed, and still be mom, and still be like nice and loving, and read them bedtime stories and sing them songs and everything else. And it was kind of funny because when I got in the camper, my two oldest had already started getting ready for bed. My youngest was still in the car because my husband was getting stuff in and out of the car, and she needs help getting unbuckled. And so once my husband got the stuff in and out of the car, he got her out, and she came in, and she was perfectly fine then. She was like just totally back to her normal self. Like she wasn't upset, she wasn't grumpy, she wasn't whiny or anything like that. She was just totally, she kind of at one point gave me like a little bit of a dirty look, but then like when she first walked in, but then after that she was done. And she came up to me, and she's a snuggler. She came up to me and like hopped in my lap and just wrapped her little arms around me and just snuggled me, which is also her way of saying sorry. Anytime that child gets in trouble, after a certain point, she needs to be snuggled, and we always snuggle, and we talk later about like, after the snuggling, about like being nice to sisters and not destroying their stuff, or being nice to mommy and not yelling at mommy when mommy tells you to pick up your toys and everything else. Like we have those conversations. And last night I looked at her and I said to her, what do you need to say to your sister for not being polite in the car and being quiet for her? And she said, sorry to her sister. I'm like, what do you say to mommy and daddy for being naughty? And she said, sorry. And we just snuggled for a while. And I told the girls, all three of my girls, that there are times where mommy and daddy both get very, very tired, where we're very tired of having to deal with naughtiness, with being, kids being kids. Quite frankly, kids just being kids. But at the same time, like, we're trying to teach them to be good people and to be good adults in the future, and to raise them well to where they're respectful of others and everything else. And kind of just had a talk with them about there's times where mommy and daddy just get tired, and like that's why I walked up the driveway, because I was tired of being around my youngest daughter, Faith's whining, and I needed a moment where I could just decompress and kind of get over it, so that way I could come into the camper and get them ready for bed nicely and not be upset. And so they listen, and they kind of, they're kids, so whether they fully understood or not, I don't know. I know my oldest does, because we've actually had talks about it. Like, she's asked me questions about it. But that's one of the things, guys. It's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to just be tired and to feel like you're done, and to just be plain out exhausted. Parenting is not easy, but it's so worth it. It's so rewarding. And like I said to my girls last night, how no matter how frustrated, no matter how angry, no matter how sad, no matter how whatever I feel when they're being naughty, I still love all of them with all my heart. And I still will always be their mom. And there's nothing that they can do that would stop me from being their mother. And it is true. There's that. And then at the same time, I've told them, though, you can't be disrespectful, though. Like they can't, there's times where they're in different ways they're disrespectful, and I've had talks with them about, proper communication. And again, they're kids. 9, 7, and 4. Like, they're not going to be world communicators at that age. But at the same time, you know, it's what we're working on. And I tell them that I work on this now with them to help them to be better at it when they get older. And so that way, eventually, when they're married and have their own children, that hopefully this is stuff that they can teach their kids. And they'll be better equipped to teach their kids it, because hopefully I'm doing a good enough job with them at this age. And I think that's important that we talk to our kids too about why we're teaching them what we're teaching them. At least, especially with my kids, they're very much so like my husband and I. They have to know the why. Like, why are we learning this? Why are we doing this? Why are things this way? And just because is not a good enough answer. You have to have an actual explanation. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that my kids question things. I think it's, even though I hate to admit it, sometimes good that they question why I'm telling them to do certain things, because I think that makes them better. They'll think better for themselves as they get older. And I don't mind explaining things to them, but I think explaining things to your kids, and also too at the same time letting your kids see sometimes the exhaustion that you feel, because I know at least with my daughters, when they see that, wow, we've really tired mommy out, like, okay, we need to get our act together. Like, I kid you not, all 3 of my girls are like that. Like, there's times where I'm just like, I tell them, I'm like, I'm done for a little bit. Like, I can't, like, you guys are wearing me out. I got to go to a different, you know, we live in a camper, but like, I got to go to my bedroom, or you guys got to go outside or something. I need some silence. And I think they understand that, and they get it, and they respect it. And I think in the future, or at least I hope in the future, they'll understand that as moms themselves, it's okay to get like that, and that there's certain ways you handle that. And there are certain times to communicate things with kids, and there's certain times not to communicate things with kids. There's some things I've told my kids, you're still too young to know certain things. But communication is key, and it's okay to be tired. It's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to have those moments where you need to step away and be away from your kids. You know, I work from home. I stay at home with my kids. I'm with my kids 24/7. And it's okay to have days where I'm just like, I need someone to watch my kids. Like, I can't do this right now, especially with another one on the way, you know, baby number 4 on the way. I'm not going to necessarily be able to do that as much right when he's born. But it's okay, guys. It's okay to take that time. It's okay to get tired and frustrated and annoyed and even mad because your kids aren't listening. But there's proper ways to handle it. And there is times where it is just best to step away and just take a break. And even if that includes having someone watch your kids for the day. I had that happen just the other day. I texted my husband that I was super overwhelmed and like overstimulated and just please pray for me. And he ends up texting one of our friends and is like, hey, can you watch our kids tomorrow? Sarah needs a break. And so it's one of those things. It's okay to do that, guys. It's okay to take that break as a parent. Don't feel like you have to be Superman or Superwoman 24/7, and just communicate with your kids. Let them know why you're teaching them what you're teaching them and why it's important for them to know those things. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today, because I feel like it's important for other parents to feel like they're not alone in that kind of thing. So I just wanted to share that. And if you guys have any parenting tips or tricks you'd like to share, share them down below in the comments. And I will talk to you all later. Alrighty, bye.